Right now, something is happening inside you that you did not choose. It started before you opened your eyes this morning, before your first thought, before your first word. Something ancient moved through your body and quietly set the tone for your entire day. And you probably called it a mood. You probably said you woke up feeling off, or fine, or restless. You gave it a name. But here's the strange part. The feeling came first. The name came millions of years later. Your emotions are older than your ability to describe them. They are older than your ability to think about them. They are, in a very real sense, older than you. And once you understand what that actually means, you will never experience a feeling the same way again. Here is what most people assume. They assume that emotions are something the brain produces after it understands a situation. You see a threat. Your brain processes it. It decides you should feel afraid. Fear arrives. That model feels logical. It feels like the order things should happen in. But that is not what happens inside you. Not even close. Neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux spent decades mapping the fear response in the brain. What he found was not a system that thinks first and feels second. What he found was a shortcut, a direct line from your sensory organs to the part of your brain that triggers a survival response, completely bypassing the thinking regions. Before your prefrontal cortex even knows something is wrong, your body is already reacting. Heart rate up, muscles tightening, eyes widening. The emotion is not the result of understanding. The emotion is the alarm that fires before understanding gets a chance to speak. Your brain does this because understanding is slow. And for most of the time your ancestors existed on this planet, slow was deadly. Think about what life looked like 300 million years ago. Not for humans. Humans did not exist. For the creatures that eventually became you. Reptiles moving through a world of predators, heat, cold, and constant threat. No language. No memory in the way you use that word. No sense of self. Just a nervous system tuned to one question: survive or die. Those creatures felt something. Not the way you feel something when you listen to music or think about someone you love, but something. A pull toward warmth. A recoil from pain. A push toward food and away from danger. Scientists call these valence responses. Positive or negative. Toward or away. And this system is so old, so deeply embedded in animal biology, that it predates the entire architecture of the modern brain. You carry it right now, in the oldest parts of your brain stem, in the structures beneath your thinking, beneath your memory, beneath your language. The part of you that notices something wrong before you know what it is. That is not instinct in the folk sense of the word. That is hundreds of millions of years of survival code running in the background of your body every second you are alive. Now push forward in time. Not to humans yet. To your primate ancestors. 60 million years ago, give or take. The emotional system is getting more complex. The limbic system is developing. Structures like the amygdala, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus. These regions allow for something new. Not just valence, not just toward or away, but context. Your ancestor can now associate a specific place with danger, can feel something toward a specific individual, can experience what researchers today recognize as the precursors to attachment, fear, rage, and grief. These are social emotions, and they exist tens of millions of years before language. Researcher Jaak Panksepp, who spent his life studying the emotional systems of mammals, identified 7 core emotional systems that appear to be universal across all mammals. He called them seeking, rage, fear, lust, care, panic, and play. He wrote them in capitals deliberately. He wanted to signal that these were not human concepts projected onto animals. These were biological systems, specific circuits in the brain that could be activated, suppressed, and measured. Every mammal you have ever seen, every one, is running some version of these same systems. The dog chasing a ball is running seeking. The mother bear defending her cubs is running rage and care simultaneously. The elephant standing over a dead companion for days is running something that looks, from the inside, a great deal like grief. And you, right now, are running all of these systems too. Language did not create your emotions. Language arrived late. Extraordinarily late. Modern human language, the kind involving syntax and grammar and abstract symbolic thought, appears to have fully developed somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000 years ago. Anatomically, modern humans have been around for roughly 300,000 years. But the emotional systems in your brain are between 60 and 300 million years old, depending on which layer you are measuring. That gap is not trivial. That gap is almost incomprehensible. Here's a way to feel it. Imagine that the entire history of your emotional life, everything you have ever felt, stretching back through your ancestors, was compressed into a single day. 24 hours. The oldest emotional responses, the valence systems, the stored-away signals, they begin at midnight. At the very start of the day, language shows up at 11:59 and 57 seconds. 3 seconds before the day ends. You have been feeling things for 24 hours. You have had words for them for 3 seconds. And yet you spend almost all of your conscious life treating those 3 seconds as if they are the whole story. Psychologist Feldman Barrett has done some of the most important recent work on this question. Her research challenges what she calls the classical view of emotion, the idea that emotions are discrete biological programs hardwired into the brain, each with a fixed expression and a fixed meaning. Instead, Barrett argues that what the brain actually does is predict. It takes the raw signal of the body, the physical sensations, the heartbeat, the muscle tension, the state of your gut, and it makes a best guess about what is happening. That guess is shaped by your past experiences, your language, your culture. So here's what that means. The raw feeling arrives first. The body generates a signal, and then your brain, using every concept it has available, including the emotional vocabulary your language gives you, constructs an interpretation. It builds the emotion you experience as a named thing out of raw, pre-linguistic material, which means that when you say you are anxious, you are not reporting a fixed biological state. You are making a translation. You are converting something ancient and wordless into a label your language happens to have. And the translation is always approximate, always a little wrong. The word is a map. The feeling is the territory. And the territory is far older and far stranger than any map. This has consequences that you feel every day, whether or not you have ever thought about them this way. It explains why emotions are so hard to talk about. Not because you are bad at expressing yourself. Because you are trying to pour something oceanic into a very small container. Every time you try to explain how you feel to another person, you are translating across a gap of hundreds of millions of years. The feeling is pre-verbal. The word is a recent invention. And somewhere in the crossing, something is always lost. It explains why your body sometimes knows things before your mind does. You walk into a room and something feels wrong. You cannot say why. There is nothing visually alarming. But something in you has already responded. That is not intuition in the mystical sense. That is the emotional system, operating on timescales far faster than conscious thought, reading signals your rational mind has not yet processed. LeDoux called this the low road, the fast path, the one that kept your ancestors alive before they had time to think. It explains why music does what it does to you. Music bypasses language entirely. It speaks directly to the old system, the pre-verbal system. That is why a piece of music can move you to tears before you even understand why, before you have named anything. The feeling is already there. Researcher Suzanne Langer called music the tonal analog of emotive life, which is a dense academic way of saying music sounds like feelings feel, not in words, in structure, in rhythm and tension and release, in the shape of experience before language gets involved. And this brings you back to right now, that thing you felt this morning, before your first thought. Before your first word, that nameless quality of the day settling around you before you had any name for it. That was not a mood waiting to be identified. That was the oldest part of you, speaking in the only language it has ever known, a language with no words, only sensations, signals, pulls, and pushes. The language your body was already fluent in 300 million years ago. You learned to speak somewhere around age 2. Your emotional system has been running since before your species existed. So the next time you find yourself at a loss for words about how you feel, understand that this is not a failure. This is accuracy. Some things are too old for words. Some of the most important things you will ever experience will arrive before language can catch up and leave before language can hold them. And that is not a limitation of your mind. That is a reminder of how much of you exists beneath the mind entirely. Tonight, you will feel something you cannot name. You already have. Today, probably more than once. And somewhere beneath the word you reach for, something ancient is still running, still signaling, still doing exactly what it was built to do, long before anyone knew what a word was. The feeling came first. It always has.